Hi, my name is Chelsea Rose. I do a trail riding group in New Jersey called Crazy Faith Riders, and you're listening to another episode of Young Black Equestrians.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a young.
I am a young.
I'm a young.
I am.
And I am a young
Black.
A young black.
Young.
Black.
A young black.
Black equestrian.
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 Black equestrian.
Equestrian.
Black equestrian.
equestrian.
Black equestrian.
I'm a young black equestrian.
I am a young black equestrian.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Young Black Equestrians with your host, Abriana Johnson. Today, we have Chelsea Rose here with us, part of Crazy Faith. I'm gonna get it wrong. Crazy Faith. What's the rest?
Riders of New Jersey. You're
Riders
right.
of New Jersey. Okay, I thought there was something in between, like after Crazy Faith, but I am super excited to do this interview with you, and welcome to the show.
Thanks so much.
Alrighty, so you're out of New Jersey, obviously ride horses. So kind of start from the beginning. How did you get into horses, and tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Oh boy. Even as a kid, I wasn't raised in Jersey. I was born in Brooklyn. So horses wasn't a thing, period. But going to like a carnival or fair and seeing a pony, I was a kid that begged my dad or my mom, we have to wait in the line. I need to ride the pony. Be like a 2-hour line for like a 3-second ride. And I remember being so upset after. I'm like, who would do this just for 3 seconds? I was like, I could ride all day if I had my own horse. But used to see them like while driving on the highway on the side of the road, and you're like, oh my God, that'd be so cool to hang around horses. But getting in the horses, I was 13, and my mom thought it would be a great idea for all the girls to go do a lesson at a place in Sayreville, New Jersey. I did a lesson. I caught on really quickly. I loved it. I loved every second of it. And the owner could see that too. And they did volunteering every weekend for younger kids and whatnot. So he asked if I'd want to come back the weekend following to learn and volunteer. And heartbeat, I said yes. And the rest is history.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool that opportunity was there, though. I always feel like sometimes it's either or. It's either, no, you need to be 18, you need to be, and then kids don't get that opportunity. Or it's like, yes, come and be my free labor every single day.
Yes, that was it. They needed a pooper scooper.
Right. But there's so much experience in that. There's so much value in that. So how did you, or what discipline do you ride? And, was there a progression to that or to what you do now? Or
I'm mostly Western. I've always been Western. I've done very little English. I did it at Rutgers. I rode for the equestrian team for Rutgers University in New Jersey. I remember you had to kind of like do an audition to be on the team. They had to see where you were at riding skills. They weren't going to throw you on a horse and expect you to be in a expert class when you've never touched a horse in your life, and they could see it just from how you rode.
Mhm.
But it was an English barn, so I had to get an English saddle, and I'm like, okay, I'll just wing it. And I remember taking lessons with this one woman I also helped out for a couple months, but it just wasn't my forte, so I stuck mostly with Western. It's more comfortable.
Yeah. Did they offer multiple disciplines as a member of the riding team, or were you expected to do English?
There was Western or English, and because I knew Western, I immediately chose that. But there was way more members of the English team. I feel like English is a bigger discipline in Jersey. There's very few Western places, and I feel like that's more when you go Midwest or West.
Yeah.
and they just started doing dressage recently. So they're varied. They did a good job with that.
Okay, good, 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 good. So when you went to try out for the team in college, did you by chance choose your school based on that, or what kind of led you to make the decision to go at a collegiate level?
I chose Rutgers because they had a equine science program, which I minored in. I got my degree and minor in that. So they had horses on campus, and I didn't find out till it was like some type of fair they had when freshmen come in and you get to see all the different types of clubs and things they do. And
Mhm.
I was like, oh my God, they have a riding team. And I was like, yes. And
Yeah.
I went to a meeting and I did it for 4 years. I rode for Rutgers, and it was great. I had to do like lessons maybe 2 or 3 times a week, so that was interesting having to schedule it into my classes in between and trying to drive to a lesson and then rush back to make it to another class. But it
Mhm.
was great. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So let's back up a little bit. And how did you go from, cleaning stalls on the weekend to writing in college? Like, what was that journey like?
um, I think when I started, it was just getting a foot in the door, understanding how to even what are the parts of a horse, how to even care for a horse, what they eat, who eats what, how to put
Mhm.
on tack. I learned everything at that place I volunteered at. Um, so that was, I feel like, the beginning and the basis for me. I took lessons there. I eventually led trail rides. I tailed a lot of trail rides. I did lessons for kids, adults. So it was a good starting point, and I felt somewhat comfortable enough to think that I could be on the Western team. Why not? And it was only like maybe max, it would be 7 to 9 of us. So it wasn't a lot compared to like the English team that had like 30 something people. So we had
Right.
to represent Western as best we could. But yeah, just anything horse related I could touch, I wanted to be a part of. It didn't matter what it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned that your mom was taking all the girls for a lesson. Do you have lots of siblings?
I have, by marriage, I have 3 step siblings, so but I call them my sisters and my brothers.
Yeah.
We're close like that. And I
Yeah.
have younger siblings also, so we range in age group.
So what was it like to, or are any of them also interested in horses?
Just
No.
me.
Just you. Okay, okay. That's what I was kind of getting at. What was it like to kind of have that conversation? Because you were 13 at the time.
Yeah,
Like, hey, I need you to take me every weekend, please. What was that
please.
like?
It worked out for my parents, I feel, because you know how they try to have their kids find a sport or a hobby to keep your kids out of trouble or doing things they need to be doing. So to know she dropped me off at a horse farm and then she would leave and do what she need to do and knows I'm gonna be there when she comes back to pick me up,
Mhm.
that it was a good starting point to just, I don't know, even take responsibility and do things that I like. Or I'd wake her up in the morning, I'm like, we gotta go to the horse farm. Let's go. And she's like, oh. Or she'd bring me like bags of Gatorade and food when it was like a hot, like those 90 something degree days. And but she was
Mhm.
very supportive about that. I appreciate that.
That's good. That's good. I feel like that is a cheat code to life. Supportive parents. Because
It's
where
important.
would we be? So, what is one of the biggest challenges you feel like you faced um, with horses, and kind of what was that learning experience for you?
I feel fitting into a group where you can comfortably ride but not feel like you're being judged. There's only people who are there to support you and help you and move you forward in your journey. Um, Although I had a lot of opportunities, I felt there were very few people in the horse world that are willing to go out of their way and do that for you. It wasn't a time where I really felt comfortable where I was riding until actually when I met the Crazy Faith riders and I started
Mm-hmm.
riding with them, and
Mm-hmm.
that changed the whole game for me, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me a little bit about them and what kind of put you in their or put them in your crosshairs.
So there was this one horse I rode at the place I volunteered at, fell in love with them. Everything about him was perfect. Um, it didn't work for the program that he was in because he's kind of more of a one person type horse, but they needed a lesson horse where that could vary. So they decided that they were going to sell him. I met Glenn Johnson, who's the vice president of Crazy Faith Riders currently, and he had inquiries about buying him. I went to the Cranberry auction in New Jersey to see where the horse would end up, so maybe I could follow progress or get little updates if they would allow me to, the new owner. Glenn
Mm-hmm.
bought him. I walked up to him, I was like, "Hey, I really bonded with this horse. I love him. If I could help in any way or even get updates, that'd be great." He's like, "Yeah, I'll tell you where we're gonna be boarding. This that come up anytime. You could ride him whenever you want." I was like, "Okay." And I ended up just staying there with them and hanging out. But then he introduced me to his cousin, Wayne Johnson, who's now the president of Crazy Faith Riders in New Jersey. I met the whole group. There's supporters, there's family members that have been rolling with them for years on end. And it's just amazing. It's a faith-based trail riding group in Jersey. I can't really say there's a lot of those in Jersey in general. So I feel like we're the only one that's pretty solidified.
Mm-hmm.
And we deal with a lot of inner city events and deal with the youth mostly, trying to provide an outlet for the youth in inner cities to be able to do productive things, that they can come to a farm and volunteer or come to our events and help out and
Mm-hmm.
understand the world of horses. And if that's something they want to do in the future, then we greatly support that. But
Yeah.
we do a lot of community events in New Jersey, whether it's donations. We did a lot of stuff for COVID. We did an event just like a week or two ago, and I believe it was Newark. They did like a street ride, and we gave food to a family in need, which was great. And
Mm-hmm.
it's always giving with them, which is a wonderful thing. You don't get that a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like you recreated well, not that you recreated it, but you are now a part of an entity that's kind of like what you did when you were growing up, just providing that opportunity.
Yes, blessed, very blessed.
Yeah, yeah. So what was your first reaction? Because I'm assuming, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. Um, the barn that you grew up in was not a barn of color.
Very few, maybe I could say honestly, maybe two people, if that.
And obviously Rutgers ain't either. Um,
I
so
was the only colored person in the whole equestrian thing in general.
so what was your initial reaction when you're like, this black man just bought this horse I like?
I was like, there's more black people who ride that isn't me. Oh my God. I was like, I have to introduce myself. And then to see a group of
There's more
African
of you?
American, there's more of you. Oh my God. It was just, I don't mean to say that, there's other groups that are more welcoming than others, but there was nothing about Crazy Faith that made you feel unwelcome or that you didn't deserve to be there. They're just very open armed and come in. So even the people we ride with in general many times a year, it's mixed. We have Spanish people, white people, black people, but just to see the diversity, it's refreshing. It's such a beautiful thing. And to know you can ride with these people and you all have the one thing in common, which is horses, and known each other for years, and it's great.
Absolutely, absolutely. I often say, like, when I go to trail rides, um, like I only know these people because we all love horses. I know nothing else about your lives really. Like
No.
you could I don't know where you work. I don't know what other skills you have. And it's like, on the outside looking in, these are receptionists, truck drivers, dentists, like like you don't know who
No.
these people are outside of our relationship, with the horses. And if you get closer to them, then yes, but it's just amazing. Like in the last interview I did, he was saying like, even these actors that we have grown up seeing on TV, they go home to their ranch and no one had a clue.
Nope.
No. And it's amazing. It's amazing to have that kind of all wrapped up into one person.
But it's such a small world also because there's some people that you know, and then those group of people know them from somewhere else. I met a gentleman, Justice Jacobs, at an ACO ride in 2019, and then he said, I want to start a horse training business. I'm like, that's amazing. I was like, let's get that into motion. I mean, I do the social media for Crazy Faith Riders, and right now that's all it is social media and how you get yourself out there. So I was like, let's do it. So I did it, did the page, the ads, everything. His business is rolling. Now Centaur Horsemanship, and we also just had the New Jersey Extreme Mustang Makeover competition, and his horse won, I believe, seventh place, Jolene. And
Oh,
she just got placed in her new forever home in Kentucky. And that was
wow.
great to see something go from an idea to
Mhm.
you doing a competition maybe a little over a year later and still making a name for yourself. So it's just,
Mhm.
it all comes back around. Small world.
Yeah, yeah. So is that you know, part of what you do in your real life, like social media or digital marketing, things like that?
I do a lot of the social media for Centaur Horsemanship and Crazy Faith Riders to keep people updated on events and what's going on and whatnot. But full time, I am an accounts receivable specialist internationally for an IT company. So you never know unless you ask.
Right. You
Completely
never
different from
know.
what I love, but it works. I work from home.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And how do you how do you manage or balance this, my job? Because we're all, well, not all of us, not all of us are working from home, but right now there's a big conversation about like team F this job and doing what you love and making a way and entrepreneurship. Like there's just a whole conversation happening right now. So how are you able to kind of maneuver or balance the two right now?
I believe if you have the assets and the support to do what you love to do, and you don't like this job sitting in a cubicle and you want to go do horses. Life is too short to be doing something you're waking up and you don't want to do it. You don't want any part of it. But
Hmm.
just don't do I feel like just don't jump into something where you're not 100% sure. I like that I can do this on my spare time but still make the money to pay off student loans when I'm working that 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 job.
Hmm.
um but I don't think I could imagine spending my free time not with horses. I think that's a very unlikely reality for me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what is a common misconception people may have about, you know, groups such as Crazy Faith Riders or just your position in the industry right now?
Well, for one, not everybody on a horse is going to be blonde hair, blue eyed, with they're like, oh my God, y'all ride horses. We're like, yeah, we ride horses. What? And it's just, I don't know, the look on people's faces, it says it all. It's basically like, I didn't think, or I didn't know that Black people ride horses.
Mhm.
That's I feel like that's a very common misconception, that we all have to look like those old westerns on TV. No,
Mhm.
we all come in different colors, different shapes, different sizes.
Yeah.
Um, and just discipline wise, that any discipline looks easier, that riding looks easy. None of it is easy. Even being involved is never easy. It's hard
Mm-mm.
work. All of it is hard work.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Once the horses started going in the trailers instead of pulling the carriage, everything changed.
Yes.
So I know that you have, or Crazy Faith Riders has a range of like generations involved. Um, how have you seen, the reaction or just conversation with you guys? Like, what is the difference between the generations and kind of how you operate and different values and things like that?
It was interesting actually going into our vote for the elections of who's going to take on different positions. This was about maybe a year or two ago, where
Hmm.
Wayne came into position, Glenn came into position, and they're both cousins, so that worked out lovely. That family's going to be running this. Um, but the people before were of another older generation, and I feel in their minds they wanted their club to kind of stay what they were familiar with for all these years. But the rest of us that were coming in, especially I'm really the only youth that's a part of the group right now. So
Hmm.
to be able to keep the club going for youth to come, that's another mission that we have to work on, because it can't nothing can run the way it used to. If something else can work just as good as how it did before, there's nothing to lose by trying it. So it's interesting to see the just even the difference of opinion from me compared to the people of the older generation, or even our clothing. I did a whole remodel this past year. I was like, I know we love button down shirts and they're, super fancy when you go to Western shows, button down. I understand. I was like, but some of us, the cute females, feel like our hoodies and t-shirts, and and it works for the youth that could see clothing, and they maybe would want to buy clothing just by seeing that. And they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. And they even ask, what do you all do? I wear my hoodie to Walmart and I have people asking questions about it.
Hmm.
So just to even see the change in our clothing line has been incredible, and that we can make a lot of stuff work for all types of age groups.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that has been a lot of conversation recently, through the pandemic and being really careful about, interacting with each other, but also about preserving some of these things, because we've never had a period where we have to take a break, like
Yeah.
you can't, you got to stop seeing people. Like we've never had that.
No.
So, when we're talking about these groups that we've gotten together to create, I just know that there was a lot of resistance, in the groups that I am close to or had conversations with down here. So that's why I was just kind of interested to see, what you guys came up with up there, because I have seen your social media presence and I see the work that you are doing, and I think it's so important now more than ever to show, proof of what you're doing and proof that it works,
It
and
does.
that can all get along and do something that we're passionate about without some sort of, big regulation body, or, you don't have to be part of something government official to
No.
do stuff like this.
Even we're being very considerate through the pandemic as well, even with meetings. People wanted to know what's going on, what's coming up, what's been, happening. We started Zoom this past year. You know how difficult it is to get older generations on Zoom, or even know
Yes.
what it is. download an
Right,
app.
right.
So we just got that going. So people who don't want to come in person because they have reserved feelings, they can hop in on Zoom. And we've had people doing it. Or if they're busy working, but they still want to listen
Mhm,
in, we've had
mhm.
that. So that was a big change also, but positive.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, and I definitely commend y'all for that because, whoo, yeah, I honestly, I gave up with the people I was talking to. I gave up. I was like, okay, yeah, it's fine, it's fine.
Can only go so far. All right.
I'll just be over here. Just call me. Um, so what vision do you have for the future of, horse ownership, being in this industry, riding with your group?
Oh boy. I hope to be eventually stable enough to, I wouldn't know where I'd want to move, where the dream is always to have your own beautiful house on a nice piece of land and just have your horses right there in the backyard. It's just about working hard enough to get there.
Mhm.
Um, with me working closely with Justice with Centaur Horsemanship and seeing all these Mustangs getting trained, I do see myself in the future hopefully being able to compete in the Extreme Mustang Makeover when I have more time and I'm more stable with my situation.
Mhm.
Um, and when I can actually, care for a horse, it's nice to have people who are willing to, they don't have the time. So they're
Right.
willing to have you help out. So I'm basically like an exercise rider for my barn.
Mhm.
Um, so it's not like I have to pay for anything, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Free riding, I love it. So, but to have your own horse one day, that's always the dream also, but it does take work to get there and to keep it maintained. Um, for our
Yeah,
group,
I was gonna ask, do you have a horse now?
I don't know, but
Okay.
I everybody in the group will mostly say Glenn's horse is my horse because that's like my baby. He knows me, I know him. We're like inseparable. And I
Okay.
have a
Okay.
tattoo. I have a tattoo with his name on my wrist, so I'm gonna say that's mine.
Oh, and this is the horse from the auction?
Yes, yeah, that's
Okay.
him.
Okay. Cool. That's cool.
Yeah. For our group,
Mhm.
I hope that eventually the youth will see how important it is as well as we do, and they'll be willing to step in when it comes a time where our generation can't do it anymore. And
Mhm.
they'd want to carry this on because it is a beautiful thing what we do. And
Mhm.
all the people we meet and speak to and everybody who wants to be involved.
Right.
It's touching.
Right. Right. What kind of events or if anything are you guys kind of doing to target that generation?
So now it's getting cold, so it's kind of coming to a halt with the
Well,
stuff we
yeah.
can do. We were doing a lot of events outside because that helped with the social distancing. So we've done a lot of camp outs in South
Mhm.
Jersey. People could bring their kids and their families and had like pony rides for the horses, and kids were hanging around the horses all day. And it's just that vibe alone. Kids are like, I want my own horse, or I could ride this horse, and they
Mhm.
come back for the next events and to come. So
Yeah.
winter we're on hold. Our next trail, it's also a camp out, will most likely be in March in Acco, New Jersey. We have
Mhm.
that about twice a year, but that's a very family-based event where people bring their kids, grandkids, families, and we're
Mhm.
able to get our name out there, meet new people, and just
Mhm.
show them what we're about.
Yeah. Cool. So what advice would you give the aspiring equestrian?
If you love it, do it. It doesn't matter what anybody says, because you're the one who has to go to bed being happy about your day.
Mhm.
And don't stop. If it's something you feel a passion for, it's I feel like with equestrians, it's a burning passion. It's something you feel it in your heart and your soul when it comes to horses. So don't let anybody deter that. Just do what
Mhm.
you love, and it'll be a great thing.
That's good. That's good. So, at the end of our interviews, we do the Derby round. So you just answer these questions.
Okay.
Well, they're not questions, they're just choices with the first thing that comes to your mind, and we'll go from there. All right, you ready?
Okay.
English or Western?
Western.
Solids or spots?
Solids.
Bays or grays?
Bays, because I haven't really had good experiences with grays. A lot of them seem a little cuckoo.
Brown tack or black tack?
Brown.
Sponge or a curry brush?
Mm. Ooh, a sponge.
Bumper pull or gooseneck?
Mm. A gooseneck.
Rope halter or a nylon halter?
Rope. That nylon breaks like nothing.
Wood fence or electric fence?
Do a mixture of both because some of these horses.
I know.
I'll go
Both
with
is
wood for
best.
appearance.
Right. Favorite piece of barn equipment?
Mm. I like my rope halters, all the colors, and it's they're pretty. They're pretty.
Mhm. Favorite piece of tack?
My saddle is everything.
Yeah. What was the last time you fell off?
Ooh, October of 2019, and I curved my tailbone in a little bit. It was a hard fall, but we're all good.
Good. And if money was no object, what is one horse related purchase you would make?
More horses.
More horse? I feel you. I feel you on that. Well, thank you so much for coming on the episode today. And I am so thankful we got to learn more about you and the Crazy Face Riders of New Jersey. Got it right this time.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Young Black Equestrians. Head over to our Facebook or Instagram pages and let us know what you thought about that episode. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and have the opportunity to be featured in our next episode. See you next week.